Hey, you clicked on my video. Appreciate it. Now be sure to like the video and subscribe to the page. Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Out of My League. I'm Nick Diaz. 3 weeks until the Florida State game. 3 weeks. Which means 2 weeks from today, LSU will have to solely start preparing for Florida State. No more individual stuff, no more self-scouting. Solely prepare for Florida State 2 weeks from Monday. But I'm here to ask you, does Brian Kelly have to name one quarterback as the starter for that game? Does he have to name one? I mean, Brian Kelly actually doesn't have to name a starter before the game at all. There's no rule that says he has to. At least I don't think there is. But either way, Brian Kelly said after practice number 7, which was Thursday of last week, he said you would know more about the quarterback battle after that practice. I'll be damned. We do. Miles is gone. And if you haven't listened as to why I think he's just retiring from football altogether, you can go back and listen to it here in the corner of the page. But on the field, why he's not being picked as the starter or why he's not even in it, it's pretty much the same criticisms as that I've always had of Myles Brennan. Basically, he holds on to the ball too long. He has a great arm, he has great accuracy, but for some reason, he just doesn't seem to trust it. And with a shaky new offensive line and a quarterback that isn't mobile like Myles Brennan, that's just not going to cut it. You got to get rid of the ball quicker, and he can't do that, and so it is what it is. So, it's down to 2, Nuss and Jaden Daniels. So from the practice reports today, Nuss and Jaden Daniels, like last week, were still splitting first-team reps. But Nussmeier was still first in the order of individual drills. As we've talked about before, I've heard that kind of stuff in individual drills is very symbolic, for lack of a better term. And it does play some significance according to former players, LSU players. But as I said before, those former LSU players were Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Ogeron players. I don't know if Brian Kelly works the same way. But what I will tell you is this. Not only in individual drills was Garrett Nussmeier taking first-team reps, but in the first-team drills and walkthroughs, and I saw the video courtesy of Mikey Mites Hook's podcast, and in those walkthroughs where they're kind of going up-tempo and then they just, throw it against air with the first-team offensive line, wide receivers, and running back tight ends, this is how it went. Jaden Daniels, he would take the first 2 or 3 snaps with the first-team offense, and then Nussmeier would be right behind him, keeping up with him, and then after the first couple, he would tap Jaden Daniels on the shoulder. Jaden Daniels would move out of the way, and Nussmeier would take the last 4 or 5 reps with the first-team offense. Then, on the other side of the field, the second-team offense would go as soon as the first team was finished, and Jaden Daniels would take the first 2 reps with the second-team offense as well. And then, similar to Nussmeier, Walker Howard would be right behind him, and after the first couple of reps, Walker Howard would tap Jaden Daniels on the shoulder, and Walker would finish the last 5 reps with the second-team offense. So, Jaden Daniels was getting a first couple of reps with the first team and the second-team offense, while Nussmeier was just getting reps with the 1s, and Walker Howard was just getting reps with the 2s in walkthroughs. I don't know how significant that is, considering that's all we saw in the first 30 minutes of practice, and it's just walkthroughs, but that's the information we have. Take it for what it's worth. But what I will tell you is that I still, at this point, today, August 15th, I still very much believe that this quarterback battle will go deep into the first few games of the season. Maybe even the first 3 or 4 games of the season. I've believed that since the end of spring. I believe that as of right now, subject to change. But who's it going to be game 1 first snap official starter, air quotes? I don't know. I don't necessarily care because of my belief that this is going to continue to go on throughout the first couple of games in the season. But I will ask you this. Who has more room to grow? Which quarterback out of Nussmeier and Jaden Daniels has more room to grow? The fourth-year junior or the redshirt freshman? I'll leave that for you to answer, but I have my answer, and you know where I stand. Other notes from the practice that were kind of significant. The offensive line, except for maybe center, looks like it might be locked up. Left tackle, left guard, right guard, and right tackle looks to be the same it has been for the past 2 weeks, and that's Will Campbell at left tackle, Tremont Shorts at left guard, right guard is Miles Frazier, and right tackle is Anthony Bradford still. I think outside of center, that's going to be your starters against Florida State. I feel very comfortable in saying that right now. Based on the tea leaves, things I've heard, those are going to be your starters at those 4 positions against FSU. Dellinger is still battling Charles Turner from the looks of it. Charles Turner got a few first-team reps, but Dellinger still has the upper hand right now. We'll see. I think they want Dellinger to be the guy, and maybe in the next 3 weeks he just sort of gets more and more comfortable. But I think for now, we know who the Florida State starters will be on the offensive line. Jack Besh, the most significant player that's not been out there, was back at practice, but it was no contact. He was on the sidelines in the end zone and in his helmet and I think shoulder pads, but he wasn't hitting. He wasn't getting hit at all. He was just catching balls, kind of getting loose a little bit. Chris Hilton, the other wide receiver, still not at practice. Still not at practice. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate, but it can't be something too serious, or else we would have known something by now. I feel comfortable saying that. But other notes, Noah Cain at running back, still splitting first-team reps with John Emery. Still splitting first-team reps. And I'll tell you something else. Noah Cain is looking really good in pass catching, which with Brian Kelly's offense, with Mike Denbrock's offense, wherever those two guys have been, that's very important in what they like in a running back. They like balance. But LSU may have the perfect 1-2 punch, the thunder and lightning combo at running back this year that I think Brian Kelly is looking for, because although both have to catch in the backfield and be relevant in the passing game, Noah Cain is more of the physical thumper, and John Emery is more of the speed back. Either way, I feel comfortable up at the running back position. Major Burns still running with the ones ahead of Joe Fuchsia at safety. This is, I think, now the second open practice in a row where that's been the case. Interesting, because Joe Fuchsia, I think he was the captain from Arkansas who started over, I think, 40 games, if I'm not mistaken, or close to 40. He was the starter in the entire spring next to Jay Ward as the second safety. But Major Burns was also out of spring. So you think that would have helped, but it looks like Joe Fuchsia couldn't Wally Pip Burns, despite the head start in spring. But the more and more it seems like LSU safety room is going to be loaded, the more and more comfortable I feel about this passing defense. But speaking of passing defense, let's get to cornerbacks. Colby Richardson was taking, once again, first team reps today in practice from everything that we saw. I don't know how I feel about that. It's the McNeese grad transfer that Brian Kelly mentioned after Thursday's practice that was open to the media. Once again, Colby Richardson, the McNeese State grad transfer, not young guy who's bloomed late, grad transfer. It's taking first team reps. Either LSU found a diamond in the rough, or I still need to be concerned about cornerback. But Brian Kelly said so as much that he's no longer concerned about the corner position. And it's partially because Colby Richardson has emerged, to their surprise. Look, I'll defer my opinion to the winningest active coach in college football on this until otherwise. But I don't know if Colby Richardson taking first-team reps is because it's just his performance, or it's because Sevyn Banks is still not a full go, the transfer from Ohio State. He's out there, but he's not a full go yet, I don't think. Look, when it comes to quarterback, whoever wins this battle, I feel pretty good that they've earned it. And they will play well because of the coaching, because of the talent in the room making each other better in the competition every day, and also the talent that those quarterbacks will be throwing to at the wide receiver position. I feel good about that. It's a question mark, but it's not the same type of question mark I have with center and the corner position. I feel good about where they stand regardless of who wins, even though I have my opinions about Nussmeier and Jade Daniels.
Thanks for listening to Out of My League.
If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in the description link below.